Welcome to Smokey Uncuffed. On this podcast, we'll talk about law enforcement, social networks, platforms, and just life. I'm Brian, and so this is going to be a mix and match of a little both of life, law enforcement, probably a little platforming too. And man, who could have ever foreseen life taking this turn? All of us being quarantined or social distancing, whatever you want to call it. And so we're just stuck at home watching the same TV shows that we've seen 400 times. I mean, you think they could throw some new programming out for us. Give us a break. So you remember the last or a couple of episodes ago, I was really pushing people towards social platforming. And the very last one, I was on with a very large YouTuber. He has taken social platforms to a whole nother level on two different fronts, on Facebook and on YouTube. I mean, the guy is making enough just to make a living off it, but he still does his full-time job as a state trooper. That, of course, being Arms Family Homestead. And I pointed out on there that for about 12, 13 years, I was partners with Daniel. And I'm still in touch with several of the troopers and quite a bit of the law enforcement around the area. And so one of the big misconceptions that people are having is that since we're doing all this social distancing, that they pretty much can drive how they want. They're getting out there and driving like maniacs. Well, just going to let you know, not true. One of the guys was out on the interstate the other day, and within an hour, stopped 3 vehicles, one at 103, and 2 at 114, zipping in and out of traffic. He made no bones about it. He just wrote them all 3 reckless driving. I mean, because you got to think about the facts. Just because you don't think we're going to stop you, or the law enforcement is going to stop you, doesn't mean that you need to be out endangering all the people that are on the roads. In fairness, traffic is lighter, but you still can't drive 114. I mean, come on. 114 is 44 miles an hour for the speed limit. Yeah, at some point there, it's got to be reckless. And 103, you're doing 33 over the speed limit. Yeah, it's reckless too. Here's the other side you may not look at when doing something like that. It's reckless because now you're exposing me or that trooper to somebody in a car that we don't know, and they could get the virus from it. I mean, that to me alone is reckless. So when they're making their traffic stops, it's not going to be a normal traffic stop anymore, obviously. There are several different ways I've heard people doing it. I mean, one's just the same old way. Walk up the car, you roll down your window, and the officer just stays farther back from the window and talks to you. Reaches his way out and gets the information from you. Another one is they walk up to your window, you just crack the window and slide your driver's license through. They walk back to the car and do what they got to do, and it's limited conversation. The most interesting one I've heard is doing a traffic stop by cell phone. And I mean, the only way I'm figuring that works is I walk up there with a sign saying, hey, what's your phone number? They write it down and show you, walk back to your car, and you just talk to them over the phone. Say, hey, this is what I got you doing. Why are you driving like this? And you're just having a conversation over the phone with the guy that's speeding. That would be odd, no doubt. I mean, it would be odd for both parties. I mean, could you imagine sitting here talking to a trooper or an officer from your car to their car, and you're sitting there just talking to them? Well, I felt like I needed to drive fast. I mean, it just seems like an odd situation, and it is. But this whole circumstance of the pandemic has just changed the structure of almost everything we do, from emergency response systems. I mean, EMS, fire departments, law enforcement, all of them have to work differently to protect themselves. And, I mean, protect the people we're stopping and come in contact with. Because as somebody in an emergency response field, you are going to come into contact with a wide variety of people in all sorts of circumstances. And I happen to know that the troopers at least have been given like one mask, one paper mask, and just a few sets of rubber gloves, which, I mean, really does, in the long run, is going to do you very little good. I mean, obviously you're going to save those until you absolutely need them, because if you only got one of something and you waste it on the first traffic stop, you're done. Done for the day. I'm going to rock on back here and get comfy in my chair. If y'all notice here on the YouTube, you can obviously see behind me, this is a different environment that I'm in today. I'm inside my house upstairs in one of our extra rooms that my wife uses for her her screen printing stuff and her embroidery. We've had a freak front come through, and it's like 35 degrees outside in my shop right now. And that's where my little studio I've got set up is at, and I have no heat, no air. So in the interest of me being comfortable, I decided I'd just do it from indoors and just get up here out of the way, out of everybody's hair. So I mean, even all this, the stuff with the virus, I mean, it changes the dynamic of just about everything, as you can tell. I mean, obviously emergency services are going to be put at more risk simply because of the exposure. But I mean, you can see all sorts of businesses going down, closing their doors. Even this, the podcast, you wouldn't think it could get to social networking as much. And I still have ways to wiggle around it. But as you can say, today it's going to be a solo run because I wasn't able to find anybody that was wanting to come and be in fairly close proximity and have a conversation, which I get. I get it. I mean, I don't really want to be exposed to any more people than I have to either. So it changes the dynamic of so much that nobody can really foresee what the outcome of it's going to be. I mean, I think we're going to recover. I think the economy will recover. It'll bounce back. It always has. And there's no reason it shouldn't this time. I'm just saying the twist that it's put on just about everything we normally do. And like I opened up and talked about, there's only so much TV you can watch. That's why I was pushing so hard on social networking. I mean, explore it. Get out there and do something on here. This may turn out to be many people's newfound love. I mean, because I know a lot of people start doing this stuff and then they find later that, oh man, this is a lot of fun, simply because, and I'm wondering why I didn't start this earlier. And usually it's just simply because they were worried about the judgment. Everybody's outside judgment. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, you can't worry about the judgment of other people. You're going to have those no matter how good your content is. You're going to have those people that are going to down you. They're going to give you dislikes. They're going to do nothing but badmouth you. But the whole thing of it is where are they at in life that they are going to spend all that energy to drag you down with them? And that's the way you have to look at it. Because that is the honest truth. I mean, because I don't ever put forth the energy to watch somebody's video if I don't like it and I just go, well, that wasn't that great a video. I move on. Same way with a podcast. If I sit and listen to a podcast and I go, that guy can't talk. He mumbles. I can't understand a word he says. And you may think that about me because I mean, I know I'm hick Oklahoma. I mean, I know I've got some very hick accent, redneck accent, but it's where I live. I mean, that's just who I am. So even speaking of the changing dynamics of things, even on YouTube, you're not actually supposed to talk just a lot about the actual virus. And you've noticed I haven't said the name of it on here because I'm figuring that's a trigger word for their computer program that reads all the words that are said and all the videos that run through the videos. And if it picks yours out and says you've put out content that is not in line with their policy, they can yank it. They can pull your video down. If you're making money off videos, they can demonetize your videos. And now, right now, I mean, this channel that I'm on YouTube, it's not monetized, but I don't want them yanking my video down. It just hurts me in the long run. I mean, I get it, because even YouTube staff, I've watched the deal with them, and they are even having to limit their staff from going into work just because of the social distancing thing. You know, and I don't know if they have any reported cases, but they've sent as many people home to work from home as possible. And you would think, well, you know, it's a social platform, they can do it all from home. Just not true, because I can't even imagine what their computer banks look like. They have 500 million YouTube channels. And I was listening to a deal earlier, and it said they have 500 hours of content downloaded or uploaded onto YouTube a minute. 500 hours a minute. That is astounding. And you know, I was just sitting there thinking about it, and that's over a month of content in a minute. That's how quick they download or upload it. So, I mean, that's something that you can understand. You can understand why YouTube's not going to be able to have their normal staff, which I'm assuming is monstrous, to go through all this content and edit and screen it to make sure it's following all their policies and it's stuff not infringing on anybody's rights, which they normally do. Well, it can't happen. I mean, there's just no way. Some of it can be done from home, don't get me wrong, but you could not run a business that size completely from home. It would just be too unreliable. I mean, it wouldn't be as good of a model. So I've read several articles and several studies here lately, and the social distancing and quarantining, that's the route we're obviously taking, trying to get away from it. But there is a whole nother side that is saying that what we need to do is just open society back up and let everybody intermingle, let it run its course, and which is obviously going to result in a lot more infections. But the whole point is to build immunity to it. And I see it. I see what they're saying. However, what would be the resulting cost of that for us to build an immunity to it like that? That's where I'm skeptical. So, either way, it's not a great situation. I just think we're taking the safest one at the moment, and which for the most part, most people are doing their best. Now you do see those people at Walmart that just seem like they don't care, and not wearing any kind of protective gear or anything, and just cruising around and getting in your space. And it just amazes me that people are just so what's the word I'm looking for? Oblivious, reckless. I mean, everybody's got to know about it, but you also got to respect the other people that are involved, that are out there, that are trying to take the precautions. But there's plenty of those that just seem like it doesn't affect them and walk right through life. I'll get back to law enforcement. I have talked to a couple of guys, and they flat told me they are just bored to tears. I mean, they're just sitting there for 8 or 10 hours, whichever shifts they're working on, and simply because they're not going to go out there and stop the little piddly stuff, the small infractions that they did normally, simply because why take that risk, especially if you got a family at home? Why take that risk if you're going to potentially take that home to your family? Now, I mean, like I said, there are instances out there where they are actually going out there and stopping the cars. I've actually seen somebody with one stopped, and it was a dangerous deal. The other ones, though, like the speeders just driving like mad, come on. I mean, just try to obey the law. That would be the easiest way. It makes it easier on everybody involved, and it's certainly a lot cheaper. And it's hard for me to believe that people don't think it's going to affect them at all, but because think about simple things in life that you're used to doing that are normal to you, like going to church. I happen to be part of the media team at my church, and so I help the guys, and we live stream onto Facebook, and just recently started live streaming onto YouTube. It's FCC Church, and that's just FCC and then HURCH. FC Church would be a proper way to describe it. And if you're interested in looking that up there on YouTube, it's FC Church, all one word, Sulphur. The reason we threw the name of the town in there is because there are a lot of FCC churches out there. R stands for Faith Center Church. It's the one that I've been going to for several years now. And if you guys look back and you see a podcast that I had a talk with Craig Lindley, that is our pastor. He and 2 others, Manny Cantu and Cammy Cantu, they all do a very good job. And if you just listen to that podcast with Craig, though, I mean, you can see what kind of speaker he is. Very motivated, very good speaker. But just my point, the whole dynamic of church has changed. We go up there, I go up there tomorrow night, sometime after this podcast is released, I'll go up to the church. It'll be me and 3 other people, and we'll be running all the electronic equipment. And then they're up there having church on the stage to an empty church. Reason being doing it this way is the people still can attend church at home, watching your phone, watching your laptop, watching your iPad. You can still do it because, as we know, the church is the people, not the building. But it is just an odd setup. I mean, it just feels weird. I know it has to feel weird to them speaking because they're still talking in front of a bunch of people, and it's not the congregation. So this last week, what we pulled off, since it was Easter Sunday, we actually did a drive-in church. It was really a lot of fun. We got the pastor up on a scissor lift. Everybody drove into the parking lot. We had a FM transmitter and just transmitted out of the radio. If you wanted your wind to crack a little bit, you could do that. If you didn't, which we were recommending that you keep your windows all rolled up, you can just tune in right there on the radio, watch the pastor preach, and it's all coming through there in nice stereo sound. And we weren't unique to this. I think there were 2 or 3 other churches just in our area that did the exact same thing. But who would have ever thought that that's where we would end up in society at any point, that we had to do church from your car simply so y'all couldn't be too close to each other? I think in the end, this whole thing is going to change a lot of the ways things operate, just your day-to-day life. One good thing of it is I think everybody's going to be cleaner. I saw a post that kind of summed it up. I don't know if it was on Facebook. I think it was on Facebook. That said, look around, everybody's getting long hair, getting shaggy, and almost all the food we're eating is drive-through. And he goes, it feels like it's the 70s again. Which I don't remember that much of the 70s. I was a little of men, but it's true. I mean, it's where we're going just simply because it's hard to go get your hair cut. So I'll switch gears here and harp again on something that I did a couple of podcasts ago. Man, this is the time for you to explore some of this social platform stuff. If you're big into Facebook, run with it. Push it. I really still don't know everything. I know you got to have like 10,000 subscribers or followers, whatever Facebook calls it, and you got to have X number of hours of video content before they will monetize it. But it works much the same way as YouTube. YouTube is 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, and it is a lot, but it's clearly doable. I mean, because there are so many very large channels out there making just tons of jack off of it. I mean, they are making money hand over fist over a wide variety of things. I'm going to challenge you to look something up. I mentioned it in that video or that podcast. Look up tie your shoe on YouTube. I looked it up, and I believe it was the one that was at 1.3 million views on how to tie a shoe. I didn't look up however, how to tie a tie. I know I talked about that. I promise you it's around the same. It may be more. It just would give you an idea of how simple this really is on YouTube. You can take the most mundane, simple task and video it, and it'll get watched. Simply because it's an everyday thing that you do, the number of people that don't know it is astounding. And maybe they tie their shoe different. I don't know. Maybe they tie their tie different or just flat don't know how to do it, which I get that. If you hadn't been taught to do it, it would be hard just to wing it. Just the whole point of it is, you know, like I said before, you're an expert in something. You have a vast amount of knowledge in something. Cooking, parenting, being a mechanic, just anything like that. Anything that you could pass some knowledge on, even if it's stuff that people already know. Because I'm going to tell you on my CNC channel, clearly some of the people that are watching it have CNC channels and they're experts at it, but they're still just watching to see what I'm doing. And a lot of times they give some very constructive criticism, which sometimes I appreciate very much because sometimes it's good stuff that I find useful. I'll get some knowledge out of it. And one that I see coming that I didn't mention much is called TikTok. I don't remember if it's from Japan or China, but it is already huge and kids are making TikTok videos right and left. I've made a few TikTok videos on the woodwork stuff. I just sped up my machine or the video of my machine and put them on there just to draw interest over to YouTube. But it's another one of those platforms that if they keep it up the way they're going, I wouldn't be surprised if they monetize. And those videos, what's amazing about them, you can do a 15-second one, you can do a 1-minute one, and those are about the extent of them. I hadn't seen any that were more than a minute, I don't think. So I mean, just think about that. You could, for a minute, and if you're making a little bit of money, now granted, I don't think you're going to probably pull as much money out of it as you might off of YouTube, but who cares? It's a minute. That's nothing. I mean, we've been going for 18 minutes here, and I'm making this much. I'm making goose egg right now doing this stuff. I'm doing it because I enjoy it. So just another aspect of it that you need to look into. There are other platforms coming up down the road, I'm quite certain. I'm surprised one really hadn't got up and challenged YouTube itself, because it's in the whole platform world, YouTube is king right now because they are really killing it. They've got, like I said, I've told you several times, 500 million channels. I can't believe somebody else hadn't came out with the same formula and just started another one. And okay, so they don't get as big as YouTube. Who cares? If they got a third the size of YouTube, they're still going to be a monster. One I can see breaking off and doing a similar thing, Amazon. They've got the money, they've got the resources, and it would be easy for them to open up another channel or open up another system of information streaming, and they would have the money to back it. It would be state of the art. And the reason I use Amazon as an example is because, like YouTube's owned by Google, which was already huge. I mean, it was a monster to begin with. And then it bought up YouTube, and now YouTube's even bigger. That is, of course, me just spitballing here. I have no inside information that Amazon's going to do anything like that. I'm just using it as an example as a giant that's out there that could easily come in and start up something like a YouTube. Now, they can't use the exact same platform. They can't. There's got to be some authentic things, some unique things to their system. They can't just flat steal the whole way the platform works. But I mean, there's only so many ways you can deliver video, so I don't know what there is to steal. And I would think it wouldn't be overly difficult to start it. I just think you have to have somebody, a backer that has the funds to get you set up for it. Because as many YouTube channels, and I mean, like I said earlier, they get 500 hours a minute of content uploaded. Could you imagine the size of storage you have to have for that kind of content? I can't even wrap my brain around it. I don't know how much. I mean, it would just be warehouses of computers in my brain, the way I'm looking at it. So guys, this is going to be a shorter one than normal. I mean, I know I usually try to go right at 30 minutes, but I'm just trying to touch base this week. This has been a very busy week, and so I wasn't real sure where I was going with this today, because we hustled all weekend trying to get that church thing set up, and before I knew it, I was here. It was time for a podcast, and I didn't have anybody lined up, and the ones I talked to weren't real interested. I'm hoping to talk to a couple of people this next week. I've got a couple of interesting people in mind to get on here and have a conversation with me, and just hopefully they'll come do it. So guys, that's going to be it for this one. If y'all hadn't done so yet, run over to www.smokeyuncuffed.com. That's www.smokeyuncuffed.com. Just check out what I have there on my page. I've got some links to different things, and you can find all my podcasts there. Also, Smokey Uncuffed on YouTube. I record every one of these. I put them on YouTube as well. And let's don't forget about old Smokey's CNC Woodworks. I mean, that's my main channel, basically. It's because I do a lot of woodworking. So, guys, that's it. If y'all haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And I'll see y'all and hear y'all next time.